back to my studio. I'm resuming this painting of the Cayuga Lake scullers, and I've made significant progress since the last time that I painted on it, and done a lot of details and articulated the shapes quite a bit. But what I'm going to do here is work on the sky a little bit, and Linda is working the camera today, so I'm not hampered by having it on a tripod. So the camera will come in close and you'll be able to see, not yet, you'll be able to see some details. But first I'm going to point out some things that were a little difficult to do when the camera was on the tripod. One of the things I wanted to point out, it's still, I have work to define them, but this main thing about the composition I explained is the asymmetrical scheme here with a triangulation in place. And what I mean by that is this relationship between these sort of three groups, 1, 2, and then over here is the man in the skull in the boat. And there's sort of a triangle formed. And I like this relationship between these two close, and I think it's there's a certain type of triangle which I'm forgetting right now, but I'm going to continue to lighten the sky here, so you can come in a little bit closer, but not all the way. If you would, please, so you can see what I'm doing here. So, in the meantime, between the last video installment, I've put a layer of medium down. It's traditionally called Liquin, but Utrecht also makes a brand that's very much like Liquin. It's called glazing medium, and it, as I call it, it levels the plane surface, as it were, and makes the surface an even consistency. I'm doing these, I can usually stand back, so the sky has taken several layers of paint to lighten, but the sun was right about up here. It's kind of off of the picture, and so but I like the idea of just using sort of broken, choppy strokes to allow the different layers to come through. But one thing I'm going to do here, as I said in one of the earlier videos, I have a predominant warm color scheme, but with these clouds here, this might be a time when you can come in closer here so you can see these clouds. The clouds are a neutral gray right now, but I'm going to warm them up with various colors, a little bit of yellow ochre and a lot of this white. So I put my maul stick there so I can steady my hand. That's a little too dark. I need to lighten that up considerably. There we go. So I'm changing the temperature of these clouds from a cool to a warm tone. And as clouds go towards the horizon, they usually even get lighter, so this one towards the horizon will be even slightly lighter. But I'm letting some of that gray show through there also. And over here, right there. So I'm just, this is called scumbling, where you take kind of a dry brush and just drag it over the brush there. And then also I have this sort of etched edge, or where the sun, this is where it needs to get really light here. There we go. And there can be some other areas too of where there's some just sort of clouds on their own here, without the shadow part. And then on the underside of that cloud there. Okay. You can step back a little bit now, and let's see, what else do I... If you look over here at the trees, one of the things that I've done with the trees, I haven't, the value is working right, but I've done something with combining the warm and cool colors together here. And the two colors that I've used are a complementary scheme of a muted red and green. It's kind of a burnt sienna and a chromium oxide green, which is a very warm green. And so in these tree areas, I like this kind of vibrancy. It's subtle, but it's not really green, and it's not really the burnt sienna. So it's a combination that makes kind of a warm green. And as I come over to this side here, it gets darker, so they're progressively getting lighter as they go further away. And way over here on this side, I've used predominantly warm color, but right now I'm going to go into that just a little bit because I wanted to make it a little more consistent with what's on the other side there. So I'm going to get the right brush here. This is what's called a cat's tooth brush. It's kind of a filbert that comes to a point. You can see this brush. It's a brand new brush here. Okay, so over here we have these reeds, and what I'm saying that I'm endeavoring to do is add a little bit of greenish coolness, so it's not quite so much toward the warm burnt sienna, kind of orangish color here. So this is where these where the grass was coming up here. So it's what I think is it's making the color a little more interesting. So it's not just one temperature. It's a mixture of warm and cool together here. Okay, and I'll add some of that in up here to be the highlights of these trees here. So it's a mixture of chromium oxide green, yellow ochre, and it might be a tad of cadmium orange in there too, but I'm doing sort of a couple of things simultaneously. I'm softening the edges and changing the temperature and modeling the form all at once. So I'll come back and do that some more. If you'd come in close to these figures here, between the last time and this time, I've put in a layer of color on these figures, but I have more to go. It's still pretty general, and I've come in with a kind of warm color here. And I'll do a little bit of that here right now. Let's see if I can get my rag here. And what I want to do is work on her flesh a little bit, and I'm using, maybe you can go down to the palette here and look here at this color that I'm mixing. I'm mixing some, this is called Permanent Rose, and this color that I'm putting in here now is cadmium red light. And okay, come up to the figure here, and I got too much white there. There, that's just about perfect what I wanted. And this is a boar's hair bristle brush, which once again I'm kind of scumbling the color on here. And this forearm, I'm going to extend it rather than carving it off. I'm pushing it out, because in one of those earlier videos I said I don't want to get this angle of her tilt. So it goes back to that idea of painting while drawing and drawing while painting. And I can eventually do more detail there with her too. And you can see the drawing lines. Sometimes I like to leave those that process of these initial drawing lines rather than covering them all up. Right here on her her right foot, her heel was slightly off the ground, coming down to her toe and foot there, which was on the, and we'll make this foot here too. I'm going to come back later with a much smaller brush, but for now I'm just sort of generalizing it, and as you can see, I'm not going to do any details with this lady's face back here. I'm just working very, very broadly. Okay, you can back up now. Okay, I think that's, well, maybe I'll do just a little bit of work here on this figure here. I should really get a smaller, let's back up again. I'm going to get a smaller brush because I'm at that point where I need to do work a little more detail. I can get the right brush here. Okay. General approach here is going from the general to the specific. This isn't a very good brush. As you can see, it's a little frayed, but it's good enough for the time being. And then her legs. So, but eventually I'm going to need to go in there and detail that up. But I like that that bright color. It may look a little bright here now, but once you get back from the painting, it kind of will work its way in. But the important thing is to keep the values right. The tone underneath here is that initial assessment. It's just a kind of thin tone of burnt sienna over the middle gray tone, and that's her hand there. So it's kind of a dry brush. I'm just scumbling the color over here quickly, and then her legs. But once again, it's this is almost a hot color. I want to tone it down just a little bit with some yellow ochre there. But what I started to say there is to keep the values right. In other words, whether it's light against dark or dark against light. Okay, I think that's, if you back up one last time, this figure over here, this man, I've done very little work on, and I'm going to need to exaggerate or accentuate him. And now that I get back from these figures, it's a little hot. I'm working really close here, so it's always good to step back from the painting to assess the look, but to see how it's reading from a distance. But for the time being, it's coming along fine. So once I get back from these clouds, they're working more to my liking there with the addition of that warm. Okay, I would say it's about 85% finished here. I have some more work in the dock, and as I said earlier, the dock was one of the most challenging parts to draw with all those perspective issues. Okay, so for now, this will be it. Thanks for your attention.